Namaskaram. Shri Mahaganapatiye Namaha. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. In today's humble samarpanam on Mayilpeeli, we shall chant, learn and understand the meanings of Narayaneeyam Dasakam 34. Let us chant the sloka first and then understand the meaning. Dasakam 34 is about yet another very important and amazing avatar of the Lord, the Rama Avatar. Both Dasakam 34 and 35 talk about Rama Avatar. Bhattadri has very intelligently narrated the entire Ramayanam in just 2 Dasakams. In Dasakam 34, we will be discussing Ramayanam till Lord Rama meets with Hanuman. Dasakam 34, Sloka 1. Girvanairartyamano dashamukha nidanam kosale shrishya sringhe putriya mishtimishtva dadushi dasharatas shamavrite payasagryam tad bhuktya tatpurandrishvapi trisushu samam jata garbhasu jato Ramastvam Lakshmanena Swayamata Bharatenapi Shatrughnanama. King Dasharatha of the Kosala dynasty did not have any children. He was very worried and sad that he had no heir to his throne. In this sloka, Bhattadri says, O Lord, the sage Rishishringa performed the Putra Kameshti sacrifice in Kosala on behalf of King Dasharatha, who desired to have children, and offered the king that potent and divine payasa or milk preparation arising from the sacrificial fire. The king distributed the payasa among his 3 wives Kausalya, Kaikeyi and Sumitra. Consequent to having the payasa, all 3 became pregnant at the same time. O Lord, you who had been entreated by the gods to destroy Ravana, yourself incarnated as Rama and along with Lakshmana, Bharata and Shatrughna took birth there as the sons of King Dasharatha. Dasakam 34, Sloka 2. Ko dandi kaushikasya kratuvaramavitum Lakshmanena nuyato yato bhustata vacha munikatita manudbandva shantadvakedaha nranam tranaya bhanair munivacha bala tatakam patayitva labdva smadastrajalam munivanamagamo devasiddhashramakyam. When Rama was just 12 years old, he and Lakshmana were sent along with sage Vishwamitra to guard the great sacrifice that the sage had planned to perform. O Lord, upholding your father's word, you, carrying the bow Kodanda, went along with Lakshmana to the forest to guard the noble sacrifice of sage Vishwamitra. The sage taught you 2 mantras, Bala and Atibala, to remove your fatigue. At the sage's behest, you tore apart the demoness Tataka with arrows for the protection of the people. Having acquired from the sage a host of divine missiles, you reached the Siddhashrama, the hermitage of the sage, along with him. Dasakam 34, Sloka 3. Maricham dhravayitva makashirasi sharairanyaksham nignan kalyam kurvannahalyam patipadarajasa prapya vaidehageham bindanas chandrachudam dhanuravani suta mindirameva labdva Rajyam pratishtatasvam tribirapi cha samam bhratruvirai sadaraihi. Here Bhattadri says, O Lord, when the sacrifice began, you drove away Maricha with your arrows and killed other Rakshasas who came to spoil the great sacrifice. On the way to Videha from there, you liberated Ahalya, who had been cursed to become a stone by her husband, sage Gautama, and who was awaiting the arrival of Rama to liberate her amidst continuous chants of your divine name. O Lord, with the dust of your feet, you blessed her. Reaching the palace of Videha and breaking the bow of Lord Shiva there, you won the hand of Sita, the daughter of the earth, and in reality the incarnation of Goddess Mahalakshmi, and you married Sita. Then, along with your 3 brothers who were married to the 3 sisters of Sita, you set out to your kingdom, accompanied by the 4 new brides. Ahalya was a chaste woman with impeccable reputation and character, and had a pious husband who was too preoccupied with his own spiritual practice and austerities to pay attention to his forlorn wife. It is said that once Indra sought the help of the moon, who disguised as a cock crowed at midnight. Thinking that it was time for morning ablutions, Gautama went out, and Indra, using the opportunity, went in the disguise of Gautama and seduced her. Her short affair with Indra, who had come in disguise as sage Gautama, enraged her husband when he came to know about it, and cursed her to become a stone and wait for her redemption. Dasakam 34, Sloka 4. Arundhane rushande bhrugukulatilake sankramaya swatejo yate yatosya yodhyam sukamiha nivasan Kantaya Kantamurte Shatrughne Naikhadato Gatavati Bharate Matulasya Vivasam Tatarabdho Bhishekastava Kila Vihata Kekayadisha Putrya. In this sloka, Bhattadri says, O Lord of lustrous form, on the way home you encountered Parashurama, the jewel of the Bhrigu clan, who, blinded by anger, waged a battle with you. Losing the battle, he surrendered his luster to you. You reached Ayodhya and lived happily with your dear wife Sita. Then once, when Bharata had gone to his uncle's house along with Shatrughna, your father made arrangements for your coronation as the king of Ayodhya, but was stopped by your stepmother Kaikeyi, who was the daughter of the king of Kekayas. In the Ramayana, Parashurama had given the bow of Shiva to King Janaka, the father of Princess Sita, for her Swayamvar. As a test of worthiness, suitors were asked to lift and string the mystic weapon. None were successful until Rama, but in the process of being strung, the bow snapped in half. This produced a tremendous noise that reached the ears of Parashurama as he meditated atop the Mahendra mountains. In Valmiki Ramayana, Parashurama stops the journey of Sri Rama and his family after his marriage to Sita. He threatens to kill Sri Rama and his father. King Dasharatha begs him to forgive his son and punish him instead. Parashurama neglects Dasharatha and invokes Sri Rama for a challenge. Sri Rama proves to be equal with him in all common weapons. Hence, Parashurama gives him the divine Sharanga bow, the personal bow of Supreme Lord Vishnu, and tells him to string it. Rama does that in a blink and points an arrow at Parashurama. The warrior sage realized he was looking at his own subsequent reincarnation and gives his divine weapons to Rama and retires to continue his penance. Dashakam 34, Sloka 5. Tatokya yatu kamo vanamanujavadu samyutaschapadaaraha paurana rudhya marge guhanilayagatasvam jatachiradari navasantirya ganga madipadavi punastam bharadvajamara natva tadvakya heto ratisukha avasashchitrakute girindre. In this sloka, Bhattadri says, O Lord, in accordance with your father's orders, you, taking bow and arrow in hand, and in the company of your brother and your wife, set out to the forest. Restraining the citizens of Ayodhya from following you to the forest and sending them back home, you came to the house of Guha, the boatman. Here, donning matted hair and garments made of bark, you were ferried across the river Ganges by Guha, and meeting sage Bharadwaja nearby, you paid your respects to him. Following his advice, you lived very happily on the lofty Chitrakuta mountains. Kaikeyi was the second consort of King Dasharatha and the Queen of Ayodhya. Out of Dasharatha's 3 wives, Kaikeyi had the most significant role. She was the princess of Kekaya and a powerful warrior who helped her husband during a war. Kaikeyi was the mother of Bharata. Initially loving and motherly towards her stepson Rama, Kaikeyi's mind was poisoned by Manthara, her maid. Under her influence, Kaikeyi sent Rama to the forest through King Dasharatha, and the obedient Lord Rama set off to the forest at the behest of his father. Dasakam 34, Sloka 6. Shrutva putrarti kinnam kalu bharatamukat swargayatam swatatam tapto datvambutasmai nidadita bharate padukam medhinim cha atrim natvata gatva vanamati vipulam dandakam chandakayam Hatva daityam viradam sugatimakalais charubho sharabangim. In this sloka, Bhattadri says, O Lord, from Bharata, who came to the forest to beg you to return home, you came to know that your father had passed away, heartbroken by your separation. Full of sorrow, you offered liberations of water or tarpana to his departed soul, and pacifying Bharata, entrusted your sandals and your kingdom to him to rule over till your return. Then, after paying obeisance to sage Atri, you entered the wide dense forest of Dandaka, killed the ferocious demon Virada there, and granted salvation to sage Sarabanga, witnessing his peaceful and happy end. Dasakam 34, Sloka 7. Natvagastam samasta sharannikarassa putra kritim tapasebhyaha pratyashaushi priyaishi tadanucha munina vaishnave divya chape brahmastre chapi datte pati pitru suhrudam vikshya bhuyo jatayum modad goda tatante pariramasi pura paschavattya vadutya. Here Bhattadri says, you who wish to protect the sages took a pledge to annihilate the entire host of Rakshasas, and then bowing down to sage Agastya, you received from him the divine bow of Vishnu, the missile of Brahma, and other weapons. On setting out from there, you were happy to meet on the way your father's friend Jatayu, the eagle. From then on, you lived happily. Dasakam 34, Sloka 8. Prapthaya Shurpanakya Madana Chaladruter Artanair Nissahatma Tam Saumitrav Vrishujya Prabalata Marusha Tena Nirlunanasam Drishtvainam Rushtachittam Karamabhipatitam Dushanam Chatrimurdham Vyahimsi Rasharanapya Yuta Samadhikans Dakshanad Dakshatoshmam. O Lord of indestructible might, unable to tolerate the harassment of the lovesick demoness Shurpanaka, who was overcome with passion and made lovelorn advances repeatedly and besought you frequently. You instructed Lakshmana to deal with her suitably, and Lakshmana, who was overcome by anger, cut off her nose. Seeing her disfigured face, the demons Kara, Dushana and Trishiras, filled with rage, came to attack you, but you destroyed them along with more than 10,000 demons instantly, is what Bhattadri says in this sloka. According to Valmiki, Shurpanakha met the exiled Prince Rama of Ayodhya during a visit to the forest of Panchavati and was instantly smitten by his youthful good looks. She adopted a beautiful form to entice him, but Rama kindly rejected her advances, telling her that he was faithful to his wife Sita and thus would never take another wife. Rejected Shurpanakha then approached his younger brother Lakshmana, who said that he is only second to Ram and therefore not worthy of her. Infuriated by their dismissals, the humiliated and envious Shurpanakha returned to her demonic form and attacked Sita, but was thwarted by Lakshmana, who cut off her nose. Dasakam 34, Sloka 9. Sodharya proktavarta vivashadashamukha dishtamaricha maya saranga sarasakshya spruhita manudgata pravadhirbhanagatam tanmaya krandhaniryapita bhavadanujam ravanastamaharshi tenartopi tvamantah kimapi mudamadastadvadopayalabhat. Coming to know from his sister Shurpanakha all that had transpired, Ravana, full of rage for his sister's condition and filled with lust for Sita, on hearing of her beauty from his sister, wished to abduct her. So he ordered Maricha to assume the form of a golden deer and wander near the hermitage of Rama. O Lord, the lotus-eyed Sita wished to have that deer, and you went in pursuit and killed it with your arrows. At that time, Maricha let out a painful cry, imitating your voice and calling out to Lakshmana and Sita as if you were in danger. Hearing your pitiful cry and not realizing that this was a deception, Sita forced Lakshmana to go to your help, leaving her alone in the hermitage. Ravana, using this opportunity, abducted Sita and took her away. Though unhappy, you were secretly glad to have got a motive for Ravana's destruction. Dasakam 34, Sloka 10. Bhuyastanvim vichinvannaharta dashamukastvadvadum madvadene Tyuktvayate jatayau divamata suhruda prarthano pretakaryam grihnanam tam kabandam jaganita shabarim prekshya pampatate tvam samprapto vatasunum brushamuditamana pahi vatalayesha. Then, going in search of the slim and delicate Sita, you met the dying Jatayu, whose wings had been cut off by Ravana when he tried to save Sita from the latter's clutches. After informing you of this, he died, and you cremated him and performed his funeral rites as he had been your father's dear friend. Then you killed demon Kabanda, who attacked you on the way. Later, meeting your devotee Shabari on the banks of the river Pampa, you granted her salvation. Then, coming across your greatest devotee Hanuman, the son of Vayu, you were overjoyed. O Guruvairappa, may you of such great exploits protect me, is what Bhattadri says in this shloka. Aranyakanda of Ramayana mentions that Jatayu is the king of vultures, Gidaraja. The demon Ravana was abducting the goddess Sita when Jatayu tried to rescue her. Jatayu fought valiantly with Ravana, but as Jatayu was very old, Ravana soon defeated him, clipping his wings, and Jatayu fell to earth. Rama and Lakshmana, while searching for Sita, chanced upon the stricken and dying Jatayu, who informed them of the battle with Ravana and told them that Ravana had headed south. Jatayu then died of his wounds, and Rama performed his final funeral rites. Hare Krishna. Govinda Nama Sankirtanam Govinda Govinda Narayana Akila Guru Bhagavan Namaste Shri Haraye Namaha Shri Mahaperiyawa Sharanam.